I came to my sister's graduation, but guard wouldn't let me in, and then sister shouted, "This is no place for losers!" And parents laughed behind her. I was cultured and went home calmly. Today I wrote her that I will no longer pay for rent, and she came cry and I found out about Jessica's graduation party the same way I usually find out about family things, by accident. There was no formal invitation. No. "Hey, are you coming?" from my mom, not even a lazy text from my dad. Just pictures dropped like confetti into the family conversation. Backyard tables, gold and navy balloons, a custom cake that read, "You did it, Jess!" in cursive. And of course, my Aunt Linda had already posted a photo on Facebook with her signature caption, "My brilliant niece is off to change the world." Jessica graduated from Southern Connecticut State University. Not exactly Harvard, but good enough for my parents to brag about, like she was going to cure cancer next week. I'd been paying her rent for almost 3 years. $600 a month, no questions asked. On top of that, $3,000 a semester for her tuition. My parents called it helping the family. But they weren't the ones draining their savings and eating instant ramen 3 nights a week to cover it. That was me. Every month. Like clockwork. No thank you cards, no phone calls. Just more silence. It wasn't for the money. I really thought it meant something. I thought if I kept giving, eventually they'd see me as someone who mattered. Growing up, I was an only child for 9 years. Then Jessica was born and everything changed. She was everyone's new obsession, and even the dogs surpassed me in attention. That pattern never changed. They got used to me being invisible and reliable. So when the graduation stuff flooded the chat, I waited a few days. Then I texted my mom. "Where's the party?" She replied almost too quickly. "Fairfield, the house we used for Amanda's bridal shower." No. "Oh. I thought you knew." No follow-up. Just an address, like she was reading it off a shopping list. I didn't ask who was going. I already knew. Everyone. They weren't even subtle. Uncle Mike mentioned bringing lawn chairs for the cousins, plural. My parents joked in the chat about bringing earplugs for Grandpa. They were throwing a full-blown party, and no one thought to include me. I live alone in West Haven, in a small one-bedroom apartment where I barely make rent. But I still have a decent car and a better sense of dignity than I probably should. I put on a white shirt, clean jeans, got in the car and drove to Fairfield. I told myself that they had probably just forgotten. That once they saw me, everything would be fine. I knew it was the right house because of the cars. My uncle's black Yukon was crooked in the driveway, as usual. My cousin Megan's beat-up Camry was there. My dad's truck. But no sign of my grandparents' Civic. That was weird. They don't miss events. They live for events. When I got to the gate, 2 security guards stopped me. "Private party," they said. I told them it was my sister's graduation. One of them tilted his head like he didn't believe me. The other asked my name and walked away. A few minutes later he came back with Jessica, my mom, and my dad. She looked like she was walking down a red carpet. Sparkly dress, perfectly styled hair, a phone in her hand as if she had somewhere better to be. She looked at me for half a second, then at the guards. "This is no place for losers," she said. I actually laughed a little. I thought she was joking. Then I saw my father smiling. "You really came?" he said. "After everything you've been saying lately?" "I haven't said anything." My mom finally spoke. "Daniel, this was supposed to be a celebration. We didn't want drama. I pay her rent. I pay her tuition. You think I'm the drama?" Jessica rolled her eyes. "You didn't do it for me. You did it so you could hold something over my head. You always make it about you. Then you're welcome." She didn't say anything. She just turned and went back inside like it was a commercial break. My dad just shrugged. "Maybe you should have asked before assuming you were invited." I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I looked at her for a second, said, "Right," and walked away. I drove home, didn't even stop for gas. I got in, took off my shoes, and stared at the ceiling for a while. Then I opened my cell phone and typed a message. "Starting next month, you'll have to pay your own rent. Good luck." That was this morning. And 2 hours later, Jessica showed up at my door. She was crying. Not mascara running, soap opera crying. Just real. "Please don't do this. I can't afford it. You know I can't. Why are you doing this now? I let her stand there in the hallway for a full minute before I said anything. Because apparently I'm just a loser. And you don't owe losers anything. She showed up around 9 a.m. I was still in sweatpants, drinking cold coffee and scrolling through the want ads out of habit. When I opened the door and saw her standing there in the same gold dress from the night before, I thought for a second that maybe she'd come to hurl another insult at me. But her eyes were puffy, her makeup smeared, as if she hadn't slept at all. She didn't say hello. Just, can we talk? I didn't say no, so she came in like she owned the place. Sitting on the couch like it was hers too. She didn't even ask if I had eaten, if I was okay. She just started. I can't afford the rent without you. I stopped. You have no idea how hard this year has been. She continued. I have finals, I work 2 shifts a week at the clinic, and I barely sleep. I leaned against the counter and watched her try to make this my fault. You could have told me you were upset. Not just cut me off out of the blue. I didn't cut you off out of nowhere. I said. You did that yesterday. Publicly. Loudly. She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, that wasn't serious. Neither was your budgeting, apparently. She sat back as if I'd slapped her. I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't want to filter anything anymore. She looked around my apartment like she finally realized how small it really was. I saw her look at the space heater in the corner, the torn couch cushion I kept turning over. All signs that I wasn't exactly swimming in luxury. You've been helping for years. Why now? Because I finally believed you, I said. Yesterday wasn't new, Jess. It was just confirmation. She looked down. Her hands were in her lap, twisted in the fabric of her dress. The dress still had frosting on it. I asked, why weren't Grandma and Grandpa here yesterday? She didn't answer right away. They weren't invited, she finally said. Mom said they just complained about the music. And you know Grandpa, he talks too much. Yeah, he also paid for Dad's first car. And he paid Mom's medical bills when she had that operation. Funny how quickly people become inconvenient. She didn't argue. I checked the time. 9:43. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. At 10:01, it buzzed again. Same number. Then a voicemail. I put it on speaker. It was Grandma. Hi Daniel, it's just me. I heard about what happened yesterday. We weren't invited either. Your sister said something terrible, and your father, well, he's not the man he used to be. I just want you to know that we're proud of you. And we'll be over in about an hour. I'll bring coffee. And muffins. Jessica's face froze. You told them not to come? I asked. It wasn't just me. She mumbled. Mom said Grandpa was always making stuff up about him. She didn't want him taking attention away from me. I laughed once. So you're okay with people being invisible? As long as it's not you. She stood up suddenly. That's not fair. No. It hasn't been for a long time. At 11:12, my grandparents pulled into the parking lot. I could see the silver Civic from my window. Grandma was wearing her usual floral blouse and carrying a pink candy box like it was a trophy. Grandpa was wearing his old veteran's cap, the one he only wears on birthdays or when he wants to piss off my dad. Jessica didn't even wait. She slipped out quietly, mumbling something about having to study. Grandma didn't ask where she was going. She handed me a hot coffee, kissed my forehead, and sat down as if she'd been planning this visit for weeks. You don't owe them anything, she said. Not anymore. Grandpa grunted. She called you a loser? You. The only one in this family who did a damn thing without expecting applause? I smiled, for the first time in over a day. They stayed 2 hours. We didn't talk about the party again. We talked about real things. Life things. When they left, I'd made a decision. Jessica wasn't going to be the one to talk to our parents. I would. After Grandma and Grandpa left, I sat on the edge of my bed, coffee still warm in my hand, the box of muffins untouched. Something about the silence that followed their visit made everything feel heavier. Like the moment after a door slams, when your ears are still ringing. Jessica hadn't texted. I knew she was waiting. Waiting for me to calm down, maybe hoping Grandma would convince me to go back to the way things were. But something had changed. This time I wasn't going to wait for someone else to fix things for me. At exactly noon, I called my father. He answered with a fake cheerful tone, as if we hadn't basically argued the day before. "Hey, Dan. Is everything okay?" "Grandma and Grandpa came by," I said. "Brought muffins." A pause. "Oh. That's nice. They weren't invited yesterday." "Yeah, well. It was a tight place. You know how Grandpa gets." "I know how he gets. Better than most." He didn't answer. I continued. "Also, just so we're clear, I'm done paying Jessica's rent. Or tuition. Or anything." Another silence. I could hear background noise, probably my mom in the kitchen, maybe preparing leftovers from the party. "Look, Daniel," he said, trying a softer tone. "It's not like you're struggling, right? You don't have kids. You don't have a mortgage. You've always been good with money dash, so because I haven't screwed up my life, I'm responsible for fixing theirs. Don't twist this," he said. "We're just trying to help her get off to a good start." "No. I helped her get a good start. You watched. And laughed." He didn't say anything. "I'll talk to Mom myself," I said. "Thought I'd give you the heads up first." I hung up before he could think of an answer. I didn't expect Mom to be any different. But I also didn't expect what happened next. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. It wasn't Jessica. It was Megan, my cousin. She looked uncomfortable. She was holding a Tupperware container, shifting from one foot to the other. "Hey," she said. "Can I come in for a second?" She sat down before I could answer. She looked around as if she'd never been in a place this small. "I wanted to apologize. About yesterday." I raised an eyebrow. "I didn't know they wouldn't let you in. And when Jessica said that thing about losers, I laughed. But not because I thought it was true. Just because, I don't know. It was embarrassing. You didn't look awkward." She nodded. "Yeah. I've gotten good at looking okay with things." Then she dropped the surprise. "I'm moving out," she said. "Next month. I told your Aunt Linda I'm not doing this family circus anymore. I applied to grad school in Oregon." That really threw me. Megan had always been part of the background noise at every family event, smiling, pleasant, safe. I didn't even know she was thinking about leaving the state, let alone starting over. "And Jessica's not taking things well," she added. "She told your mom that you're cutting her off. Your mom blames you. But she doesn't know anything." She reached into her jacket and pulled out her phone, scrolled for a second, then handed it to me. It was a screenshot. A group text between Jessica, two of her friends, and a name I didn't recognize. "Jessica. He actually showed up. Can you believe it?" Nauseated face. "Jessica. I told you he would come crawling. He's obsessed with being included." "Jessica. I hope he heard me. He is a loser. He pays my bills and still gets treated like garbage, lol." Megan watched my face and waited. She doesn't know I'm in this group. She added me last year by mistake. Probably forgot. I stared at the screen. It wasn't anger I felt. Not even surprise. It was confirmation. Pure, brutal confirmation. I handed the phone back. "Thanks for showing me. Will you show it to your mom?" I nodded once. Megan stood up, looking relieved. "I'm not saying this because I think you need revenge," she said. "I'm saying it because I think it's time everyone knew exactly who they were defending." I let her out, closed the door, and stared at the wall for a few minutes. Then I opened the family chat and typed a sentence. "Let me show you what your golden girl really thinks of me." And then I dropped the screenshot. I dropped the screenshot into the family group chat without saying a word. No preface, no explanation. Just the proof. Jessica's own words, in black and white. The same sister they all adored, who called me a loser, laughed at how she used me, bragged to her friends about how I paid her bills, and still got treated like garbage. It didn't feel vindictive, it felt necessary. The chat went completely silent. 10 minutes of nothing. Not even a question mark. Then Aunt Linda quietly left the group. No goodbye. Just gone. Megan texted me directly. "Holy shit." That was all she had to say. I didn't wait for the others to react. I didn't care what excuses they typed or deleted. I grabbed my keys and left. The drive to my parents' house was quiet. No music. Just the road and the sound of my own thoughts I'd pushed aside for years. Mom opened the door as if she was expecting me. Her eyes were glassy. I walked past her without a word. Dad sat on the couch as if he were the victim here. Jessica wasn't there. I assumed she was hiding, or maybe they were hiding her. I didn't sit down. I didn't ask permission to speak. I laid it out flat. I told them that they'd made me feel invisible for most of my life. That since Jessica was born, I'd been in the background, useful when needed, forgotten the rest of the time. I told them I paid for her rent, her education, and they never even thought to invite me to the one day that celebrated it all. And when I showed up, they let them humiliate me. I told them I was done. Not just done helping Jessica. I was done pretending this family worked. Done making excuses because that's just the way it is. I told them they could figure out how to be real parents in their own time. And then I told them what I was going to do next. I already posted the screenshot on Facebook. I said. Not with names. But people will know. They'll read about the brother who paid for everything and the sister who made fun of him for showing up. My dad shifted uncomfortably. My mother opened her mouth, but I continued. I'm not stopping there. I'm writing it out for Reddit too. All of it. From the beginning. Every selfish thing this family has done. Every time you made me feel like a burden just for existing. You want to play perfect family? Let's see how perfect everyone still thinks you are after they read this. They didn't say anything. They just stared. People will share it. They will comment on it. And not one of them is going to say I'm the problem. They'll say what I already know, you don't deserve me. I turned to leave, but stopped at the door. You want to be mad at me for posting only the bad stuff? Then maybe you should have given me some good things to write about. I left them in their silence. In the car, I opened Reddit and started typing. Not for sympathy. Not for attention. But because, for the first time, I had something real to say. And I wanted it all out there. The world deserved to know the truth. And they deserved to finally feel what it's like to be exposed. By the time the sun was low and the sky had turned that kind of dull gray that makes everything seem quieter than it really is, I had told my whole story. The Reddit post was live. I didn't use any names, but I didn't protect anyone either. I detailed everything: how I'd paid their rent and tuition, how I was never invited, how I showed up anyway and was humiliated like an uninvited stranger, how my own parents hadn't said a word to stop it, and how it wasn't about one moment, it was about years of being third in a family that acted like I should be grateful just to be tolerated. The post got more attention than I expected. A lot more. Comments poured in, people saying they'd been through the same thing. That they were the sibling who stayed silent for too long. That they wished they'd had the courage to speak up before it crushed them. And others were angry for me, even furious, saying I should have left sooner. But one message stood out. It was from someone who said they were a friend of Jessica's. They said they'd seen the post and realized they were part of the chat she'd been bragging about. They said she'd been telling people for months that I was basically her sugar daddy, and that I owed it to her because I was the only child worth investing in. That did something to me. Not anger. Just a final kind of silence. The kind that comes just before you let go of something you've been holding too tightly. That's when I knew I was done. I turned off notifications and called Grandma. She answered as if she'd been holding the phone, waiting for it to ring. I posted everything. I said. On Reddit. Told the truth. Told it all. She didn't hesitate. Good. I told her I wasn't going to family dinners anymore. No more holidays. No more quiet support while they laughed behind my back. That I wasn't just stepping back, I was out. Completely. I wasn't punishing them. I was freeing myself. And I told her the part that hurt. It shouldn't be so painful to walk away from people who don't even want you. Grandpa got on the line a second later. Yes, but you did want them. That's what made it hurt. There was a moment of silence between us. Then Grandma added, you don't have to keep the pain. Let it go now. I thanked them, told them I loved them, and said I'd call them again soon. They were the only two in this family that I still believed in. I hung up and felt lighter. Not cured, but like I'd finally let go of something I'd been carrying around for years. I sat down, staring at the darkening window, and then something unexpected happened. My phone rang again. Private number. I let it go to voicemail, but then it buzzed again. A second call. Same number. Curious, I answered the third. It was my old friend from high school, Leo. We hadn't spoken in almost 5 years. Dude, he said, are you Daniel who pays on Reddit? I blinked. Yeah. I just read your post. I knew it had to be you. I showed it to my sister too. She was like, holy crap, that's Daniel from 8th grade? Man, I didn't know you were going through this. Listen, do you want to have dinner tonight? My treat. Just catch up, seriously. I paused, surprised in a way I hadn't felt all day. Yeah, I said. Actually, I'd really like that. That night I had dinner with someone who remembered me before all this mess. We weren't talking about Jessica or my parents. We talked about old movies we used to sneak into, about how Leo was working in HR now and hated every second of it, about stupid stuff. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I laughed without feeling like I owed anyone an explanation for why I existed. When I got home, I didn't feel bitter. I felt beginning. I didn't fix everything. But I finally stopped waiting for them to. And maybe that's enough. Hey Reddit, I wasn't planning on writing a follow-up so soon, but I need to get this out of my head. 2 days ago, I posted about cutting off my entire family after being treated like a side character in my own life story, specifically after paying my sister's rent and tuition for years, only to be publicly humiliated at her graduation party. I told the truth, posted proof, and thought I'd finally close the book. But this morning proved something. Some chapters don't close. They just turn. I've been laying low. No social media, barely checking my phone, just trying to remember what it feels like to live without constantly making excuses for people who never made any for me. My grandparents have been calling every night since, just to check in. It's the only part of the day I look forward to. Other than that, it's been quiet, until today. Around 11 a.m. I went to the grocery store. Just needed a break, something simple: bread, peanut butter, cold brew. I was halfway through the self-checkout line when I heard someone say, "Danny?" No one calls me that. Not anymore. I turned and saw Ryan. My cousin. I hadn't talked to him in probably 6 months. He was wearing a hoodie, sweatpants, holding a six-pack and a bag of frozen burritos, like he didn't know if he was running errands or hiding. He looked awkward. Nervous even. His eyes kept darting between me and the floor. "I read your post," he said. "Took me a minute to realize it was you, but then I remembered your old email, the way you write. It was you." I didn't say anything. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't know how to react. Ryan had always been neutral. The kind of guy who floats through family functions, laughs when everyone else laughs, and leaves before it gets personal. "I laughed," he admitted. "At the party. When Jessica called you a loser. I didn't think it was funny, but I didn't want to be the only one who didn't." I nodded, still not sure where this was going. "I didn't know you were paying her rent. Or her tuition. Or that you weren't even invited." He reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. No name on it. Just wrinkled, like it had been sitting there for a while. "I brought this in case I saw you," he said. "Didn't think I would." He handed it to me, then turned and walked out without another word. I opened it in the car. $60.20. No note, except a line written on the inside flap of the envelope. "For every month I pretended you weren't important. Have lunch on me. Just this once." That hit me harder than I expected. I sat in the car for a long time, just looking at the money. Not because I needed it, God knows I've already spent more than that on my sister alone, but because for the first time in this whole mess, someone actually acknowledged it. Not vaguely. Not halfway. He owned it. It wasn't just the money. It was what it meant. Someone noticed. Someone admitted they saw me and chose not to say anything. And now, whether it was too late or not, they were trying to do something about it. It made me think about how many people in that family probably knew, on some level, that I was being used. That I was the default helper. The one who would never say no. They just never wanted to get involved. And that's its own kind of betrayal. I didn't text Ryan back. I don't know what to say. Part of me still wants to stay completely cut off. But the other part, maybe not from everyone. Maybe not from him. When I got home, I called Grandma. Told her what happened. She didn't sound surprised. "Some people need more time to grow a spine," she said. "Doesn't mean they don't figure it out eventually." I told her that it still hurt. That writing it all down, seeing the reaction, cutting off my parents and sister, it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like grief. She said, "That's because you wanted it to get better. Not to end." That stuck with me. So yes. Unexpected kindness. From someone I thought was just another shadow in the crowd. And I guess now I'm sitting here wondering what to do with it. I don't think this story is over. Not yet.